You want to do this letters page real fast?
Oh, shit. God damn it. I forgot. Thought we were done.
This is another episode of the Flight Ringers podcast. I'm David King. That's Dan Spottswood.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
We are professional cartoonists, and we are Legion of Superheroes experts. This is a real simple letters page.
Did you see, what was his name? Keith Griffin?
Yeah, he's like a repeat letter writer. Not Keith Giffen, Keith Griffin from Alabama.
Right. Yeah, I guess the Mobile, Alabama tipped me off. I thought at first maybe they misspelled it.
Yeah, but I'm sure we've seen him write in before. I think he's a longtime Legion fan, Keith Griffin. But this Smallville mail sack, it begins with an editor's note talking about the reader response to these couple issues of Superboy 186 and 187. Positive reader response about these Superboy stories that are about like prison reform. It's totally like springboarded from the real life Attica, New York prison riot takeover type of thing that happened in the 70s.
Right.
Happened about a year or 6 months or something, probably before these comics were published.
Torn from the headlines.
Yeah. And Superboy like volunteers to go to jail to learn out what it's like. There's going to be a prison takeover and some prisoners take the warden hostage, and Superboy trades places with him, gives them some kryptonite so that they can kill him if they want. It's pretty crazy. It seems like a pretty far out story to do. And I don't know if they would ever do something like that now. Like it just seems too risky to do a comic where whatever Superman like takes a stand in like some Israel-Palestine type of scenario, or a billionaire taking over social media scenario or something like that, you know?
Right. Yeah. I think that they seem to try to avoid politics every chance they get nowadays, because they don't want to piss off half their readers, I guess.
Well, and there's a lot of readers who are like, there's no space for politics in comic books. They should just be fun, throw away fantastic entertainment.
But, around this time, this is also around the time, like, wasn't there one where Lois Lane becomes black?
Yeah, I don't know what year that was, but yeah.
I'm sure it's ham-fisted and it's laughable and embarrassing now, but I think it was a sincere attempt to explore racial inequity at the time.
Well, and I even read a Jimmy Olsen comic where he goes undercover in a slum and he rents an apartment owned by a slumlord to expose that kind of stuff, you know?
Do you think that it's all kind of influenced by like what Denny O'Neil was doing, him and Neil Adams?
Possibly they saw that there was like a way to, I mean, I can't imagine it increased sales that much. Like there's not going to be too much word of mouth among kids or adults who are reading Superboy. And like, I'm going to go to the water cooler and be like, hey, Dan, you should check out this issue of Superboy. He's talking about prison reform.
Right.
Like I'm going to show this to all my lefty buddies at the office. Like that didn't happen, but I don't know that. It seems like they must have felt like that type of stuff, that ripped from the headlines, social issues stuff was, I don't know, increasing circulation or getting some kind of talk going.
Right. Making them seem less old fashioned and fuddy-duddy, like old people writing these comics.
Yeah. Or just like you put in a tiny bit of activism into your comic and you get a deluge of mail, maybe. This is all positive. Like all these letters, this whole bit, it's all positive. Like this one guy, he's talking about how like, people ignore these prisoners. And when they get out, it's like, and they don't give you the time of day as an ex-con. It's like you're serving your sentence again, And like, that's totally true. We know that shit. And I mean, most of the public thinks, like you committed a crime. You don't belong in society anymore. Stuff like that. But like,
they're going way before this, maybe 15, 20 years before. They addressed that very thing on the Adventures of Superman, the George Reeves show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really surprising to see now, like, because you think of it being very Leave It to Beaver safe or whatever, but there's a whole episode about a guy who gets out of prison and he's having to deal with the stigma of being an ex-con. And what makes it great is, what's his name? Hugh Beaumont.
Yeah.
The guy who plays the dad on Leave It to Beaver.
Ward Cleaver.
He's the guy in it. And this is like, they made it like a year before Leave It to Beaver got picked up. So he's exactly that guy. It's not a young version of him. He's playing almost the same guy, like the same personality. He's got a kid and a family and stuff, but he just happens to be an ex-con.
So is Leave It to Beaver a spin-off of this ex-con Superman guy?
It's kind of crazy. He kind of gets pulled back in, and it looks like he's going to commit a crime again. And you have him holding some people at gunpoint. Only he's looking and acting exactly like Ward.
Wow,
it's totally awesome. But then at the end, like Superman breaks the fourth wall, fourth wall. And like has them right there and talks to the audience that they shouldn't judge, ex-cons.
I love it.
You should watch it. The other thing I wanted to say was this is actually these little attempts at activism, the Denny O'Neil kind of stuff. This is one place where they were actually ahead of Marvel, because Marvel was really kind of conservative and square about that shit. Like they would have like Vietnam protesters in Spider-Man comics, but Stan Lee would write Peter Parker as like he was condescending towards those guys. They were depicted as almost like the bad guys. He was not sympathetic with the protesters.
They're hippie wackos.
Right.
Hate America type of stuff.
Right, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I only skimmed through the Superboy stories because I mean they're not really within our purview of Legion Comics. So and also it was an hour before we started talking. It seems really even-handed, and by the accounts in here, it's not like they I don't know, they don't do it as like a stupid he doesn't wake up from a dream at the end of it. It's not on Earth 2 or something stupid like that. It's like, no, Superboy literally decides that he needs to do something about prison conditions. And
right.
That's the comic, and it's over 2 issues.
Right. It's good. Like they should do a comic like that now.
It really seems unheard of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, first of all, like I can't imagine how they would write that. Like, but how would they even approach this, Because they still have to please like these mass media, huge conglomerates, I think. I don't know. It just, it seems weird that they did it back then, but it seemed even weirder to even imagine that this would happen in 2023.
It's hard for me to imagine any social message at all working today, even like an anti-drug thing or something, or drinking and driving, because kids aren't reading these comics. These are adults. It would be falling on deaf ears.
Well, but I think adults are the people who most need to know, and the people who have quit thinking about stuff like whatever, how prisoners are treated, Like I just read an article a couple of days ago about the like Rikers Island, how there's all these awful deaths of people in custody at Rikers Island all the time. And it's like, oh yeah, we've found this is the 5th Rikers Island death this year. And it's like, well, wait a minute. We're only in the 5th month of this year. So once a month, some person in custody in jail just dies. He's not on death row. He's just a dude who went there for whatever, possession of drugs or for et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Well, he died. He didn't get executed. He didn't commit suicide. Somehow, and that happens all the time, and put that in a comic and tell these fucking 45-year-old jack-offs that this is the world they live in,
Or like when a pandemic hit and we just left them all in there to die.
Oh, Jesus, fuck, yes.
It's fucked. We got the prison industrial complex. I think, don't we have like more prisoners than anyone else?
Yes, we definitely do. More prisoners than any other country on the planet. I mean, we have a bigger population. We don't have as big a population as China, India, but we have more prisoners than probably China, India, and every other country combined or something like that. Something awful like that. And yeah, we have that for-profit prison system where it's like, yeah, we stay in business if we have prisoners. Right. And who can help us stay in business and get more prisoners? How about the police? How about we help fund the science police and the science police bring in more prisoners?
Yeah, pretty fucked.
At one time, Superboy was trying to take a look at what the science police have wrought. I doubt if he would do that today.
Well, you think about how many people are wrongly imprisoned or imprisoned over minor things. You can only imagine how much worse it must have been, especially for minorities in 1971 or whenever this comic came out.
Yep.
There weren't cell phones and the internet and everybody at least making half an effort to mitigate that shit.
Oh yeah, in 1972, like there would be no George Floyd protests, you know?
Right.
Like,
Right.
he would just be some dude who died. We
Right.
don't know how.
Right.
Keep quiet.
Yeah. There's probably just an untold number of people who did not belong in prison at all.
Oh,
But
for
there was
sure.
no.
One silly thing about this Superboy thing is that he designs a new prison for them, a new, better
no, a
prison
super jail.
for them. Yes, that's more humane, I guess.
Okay.
And he makes a little model of it, and then there's a big prison riot,
Of course.
and they burn down the prison. I think they burn down it's like they destroy the prison, but they save the model, and then the prisoners build that prison for themselves to live in. So it's not.
They build their own prison.
It's a little tone deaf,
Yeah.
but they're kind of trying more than they would now. I don't think today's Superboy would design a new, better prison. A new, better prison means something different to me than it would mean for a better prison. For me, means more humane,
Right.
less torture, less awful shit. A better prison for the prison industrial complex means smaller cells, more security, more guns, more deaths, more prisoners.
Right.
I'm talking about the first one.
I'm surprised Superboy didn't go to the warden and say, "You're doing this all wrong. I've got this here Phantom Zone projector. And just
Yeah,
cast them all in here."
the warden.
Mhm.
He's actually they paint him kind of sympathetic by the end, I think.
Mhm.
But he looks like Ron DeSantis. He actually looks like the Have you seen the high school yearbook photo of Ron DeSantis that floats around where he's got this 90s skater hair that's parted in the middle? That's what the warden looks like in this comic.
Oh man, real slime ball, huh?
Yeah, but he comes off good at the end. Like they portray him well at the end. I mean,
So he wasn't supervising torture down at Guantanamo Bay
I guess not.
as
no.
an attorney representing the United States interests.
Yeah, I think they portray the warden as somebody who couldn't control.
The woke mind virus.
No, there was somebody above him who is saying what he had to do, even though he knew that these were the wrong decisions and were actually going to hurt the prisoners, and
Okay.
something like that.
Mhm.
Was Ron DeSantis a Guantanamo Bay attorney?
Maybe
Is that what you were saying? I didn't know that.
people are saying
Oh, really? Wow.
spent some time there, I guess,
And
when
not
he
in
was-
prison, right?
as like an attorney for the whatever branch he was in, which I've forgotten. But there are allegations by former detainees that he was present during some of the advanced interrogation techniques,
Wow.
like as a sort of like the legal representative, not of the prisoner but of the United States, make sure they were in the clear.
Right. Like, hey, you're only supposed to dump 3.5 gallons
Right,
and not 3.8 gallons of water on this guy.
Right.
Otherwise, you're breaking the rules.
I'm just going to look that way real quick. I don't see anything wrong.
If you're going to
here.
use that much water, you tell me so I will go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And he's sick. That guy's fucked up. It's so fucking stupid.
Douchebag.
God.
Lots about the Legion.
This is kind of a dumb question. I mean, it's kind of
Yeah.
a dumb letter. It's like the
stupid
editors.
fucking logic.
Well, they just let the letter writer answer the question that somebody else wrote
Right.
about why Superboy resigned from the membership.
I know the real reason. Infallible logic.
It's just kind of boring. Like we read the issue where Superboy quits because of the fucking taxes, which is funny and ridiculous. And then the real reason is the Superboy quit because he doesn't belong in Action Comics. He belongs in Adventure Comics because that's a Superboy title.
Right. This is
Okay,
a
great.
Superman book.
Yeah, but it was kind of a boring letter. But then at the end, they say, have White Witch join the Legion.
Mhm.
Just a little afterthought, and I don't think the editor even addresses the idea or possibility of the White Witch joining the Legion. I'm not sure when she does join.
It's like Great Darkness, isn't it?
What is this? Is 1972, so yeah, 10 years later.
Mm-hmm.
10 David years. I don't know about Legion of Superheroes years.
10 David years.
But speaking of White Witch, as a teammate suggestion, they point out Mike Shoemaker of the Bronx, New York, suggesting a character called Black Light.
Kind of sounds like it could be a cool character.
Yeah, they don't say what Black Light, what his power, or what this person's powers would be, or who they are. Any ideas on the makeup of Black Light?
Probably be like Shadowlass, though, right?
Could be.
Did the Umbra version of her like shoot black light? Or?
I think it was the same. I think it was the same powers, just darkness, cloak of darkness.
Mm-hmm.
But then the powers, I don't know what the powers would be. Black light, they can make your black light posters look really awesome.
Right.
Extra
very disco,
awesome.
very groovy.
Yeah, like your Marvel Comics black light posters.
Yeah, this cat.
Fucking cat. Come on, dude. This dude causes so much trouble. You can't get up there. Don't bite that cord. Don't move the microphone.
He's a pretty good looking guy.
No, he's nice looking, but he pisses.
The writer refers to White Witch as the beautiful sister. I guess this was before she didn't have those weird eyes.
Yeah, she was just kind of a beautiful redhead, right?
Right. But I don't think we saw her change like in the comic, right? Like she just showed up with that new look.
I kind of think that's how it happened, yeah. Because when she switched from the old hag to whoever, well, I don't know, was she called the White Witch? Maybe she was, but when back in the Silver Age period, yeah, she went from being an old hag to a beautiful young girl with this kind of red hair or pink hair. Maybe they started coloring her hair pink later on in the 5 years later period when she wasn't the White Witch anymore. She was just Misa.
Right. Yeah. Those eyes freak me out. I mean, like, what's his name? Ernie Kalan. Guys like that can draw it really well, but something about them, they look painful to look at. Like, are those like her eyelashes? What happens if someone yanks on those? Is it like yanking the side of her eye? Yeah.
It's like part eyelash, part antenna. And probably in real life, like if you saw that, it would look really bizarre. Like if you had if you had flower petals or something growing instead of eyelashes and big and like what do you call those? Like when my succulents start growing a little reproductive thing that grows out like an extra foot off the top of the plant, like a stamen. Yeah, or something.
I was gonna say sternum, but I knew it wasn't that. It was something like that.
Yeah, strange. I bet she's very freaky in real life. Like if she was in real life.
Well, if she's anything like the way Levitz writes her, I wouldn't want to be around her. She sounds like she's just annoying. She's always complaining.
Just a stick in the mud. Right?
Well, I didn't have time to memorize a spell for this. And what the hell are you doing on this team? We're like on a combat mission.
Right. Yeah, you can remember a fucking force field. Come on.
It's like
we need that every time. Just remember.
Yeah. Just memorize 2 or 3 go-to.
Or just write them down in your fucking notebook and review them.
Yeah. At least in that annual, it was put to good effect. Like she had to, she could only like make flowers or fireworks.
Oh yeah,
in battle,
wedding
like,
fireworks.
It worked out in that issue, but normally it's just annoying. Like she's the person who will do it but complain the whole time. Like, you didn't give me an advance notice to do this.
The worst coworker. Yeah, and you can't fire her because she hasn't really done anything wrong technically. But you can't expect anything from her.
What have you been spending all these years doing if you haven't memorized?
I mean, maybe she has some memory like degeneration, maybe it's early dementia. Like, what are you supposed to do? You can't, she has no short-term memory. What am I supposed to do? Can't fire somebody for that.
Right. I'm still skeptical that there was ever anything going on with her and Block in the old days.
What do you mean anything?
Like they were an item. Like she hangs out with him sometimes when he's checking out the monitor or whatever, but Timberwolf does a lot more, and I don't think they were making out. They may have been. But.
Yeah. I mean, I think they did actually sort of become an item, but maybe just by default, like she was the only girl that would talk to him, and he was the only boy that she could communicate with.
Well, they definitely are in the retro boot.
Right.
But I don't know that was ever explicit in the old comics.
I kind of think it was, but I don't remember either. Like, where did that idea come from? It had to have been in there somewhere. I don't know. Someday maybe we'll read one. Something like Legion of Superheroes number 300 and something we might tell us what's going on.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm skeptical though.
Carrie Smart of Cupertino, California asks, what's happened to Jim Shooter, who used to concoct some of the Legion Lollapaloozas? Wish we knew. And if you're so smart, Miss Smart, maybe you can find out and tell us. So at this point in history, Jim Shooter, he's missing.
He just stopped answering his phone.
DC Comics doesn't know the whereabouts of Jim Shooter. We know that eventually Jim Shooter is the editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics starting in like 1985 or maybe earlier than that.
Way earlier.
It's 1980.
Way earlier. Yeah. Maybe even the late 70s.
But this is 1973, 72. We don't know where he is. He used to write Legion of Superhero Comics in the Adventure Comics days 4 years ago.
But he's not done. We know he comes back.
He comes back. I think right now he's just in college and he's banging chicks and he's drinking out of the beer bong every night. And he doesn't have time to answer any fucking phone calls from fucking Murray Boltinoff wanting to write some dumb, shitty, long underwear moron comic books. He's got shit to do. He's got shit.
He went into, I think he might have gone into advertising briefly too.
Like he had a legit job.
There's a lot of these guys who like leave and come back because they try to get something better, and when everything else falls through, they come back.
Oh, you're saying Shooter got a little bit too big for his britches and he had to come crawling back to the comic book game.
Maybe. But the wording, maybe they're just joking, but I wonder if he just stopped turning scripts in and just disappeared. And I bet that shit happens back then happened all the time with these guys. They're just done.
Yeah. Yeah, like you're a freelancer and you're too busy doing like getting paid a real job, a real paycheck.
Right.
I do think he was probably actually in college. Who knows what he was doing? You're right. Advertising, I think, is probably what he did. I'm just trying to say, as much as I love his work on the Legion of Superheroes in the early days, I don't think Jim Shooter was a very cool dude. He was like, oh, get that poontang out of my face. I have finals.
all the Legion lady fans.
Yeah. There's like some hot ass fucking babe, and she's like, "Did I hear right that you were the guy who created Pharaoh Lad and Nemesis Kid and Princess Projector, my favorite role model of the comic books?" And she's like, "I want to suck you."
It would be funny if they had groupies. The comic creators. I guess they do have groupies, but they're all dudes. Who's this Dorfman guy who keeps getting mentioned?
He was a Superboy writer.
Leo Dorfman. Okay.
I think he kind of took over after Frank Robbins, but I don't know anything about him. Real blind spot. I think that's it. I think everything else in this letters page is Superboy stuff and boring Superboy stuff. Somebody's complaining about how they didn't put the credits for one of the Superboy comics or stories in. Somebody's like, when is Crypto coming back? The Super Dog. Somebody complains about a coloring error.
The Zodiac Killer. What's going on?
Oh yeah, there was something about that. But it's not that interesting either. It's like Superboy misidentifies what month is the Pisces zodiac symbol. And he says the Zodiac Killer might strike anywhere in that time. He says, according to Superboy, Pisces is February 19 through March 21. But the reality is that Pisces is February 20 to March 20. That's like a 2 days difference.
He means on Krypton.
Yeah.
Like stars are different.
Yeah, the stars and the planets are much differently aligned. And then the last letter is from Bradley Dolber of Waynesboro, Virginia. He says, on TV, I heard that there's a real metropolis where Superman lived when he left Smallville. Is there any truth to that? Is there a real metropolis where the fictional Superman lived? Because Superman is not a real person.
There is indeed.
And the editor says, yes, there is a real metropolis, Illinois.
We almost took Philip up there a couple of years ago when he was really, really hardcore into Superman. Because there's like a Superman like festival or something there once a year. And they've got like a big ass full color Superman, looks like one of those muffler men, like a giant statue, and everyone goes dressed up as Superman. But COVID hit, so we never made it.
It's not a big town, right?
I don't think so.
Like it's just some out of the way.
Yeah, it is not a metropolis.
Yeah.
It was probably ironically named.
Yeah. All right, that's the Smallville mail sack for Superboy 191.
It's a very graphic image on the banner, right? Crypto gnashing his teeth, ripping at Superboy's small mail sack.
Oh, yeah, he's trying to steal the mail sack from
Just yanking
Superboy.
on it, yanking on that sack.
Yeah, he's trying to rip open Superboy's sack, and the mail's going to spill all over.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Superboy number 191. I'm David King, and with me, as always, is Dan Spottswood. We're Legion of Superheroes experts.
Yay.
Long live the Legion.
Long live the Legion. LLL.
LOL.
Is that Nick Cardy?
That is Nick Cardy. Yep. Yes, she's back. The kid with the super brain.
Man, did that guy ever do? I knew he drew Titans, but did he ever do any Superboy stories or Legion stories?
I don't think he did. I mean, I could easily be wrong, but I don't think he did.
Was Titans and Aquaman?
Yeah, I think so.
Super